Alrighty. Early morning one of these. Again, we had just a 2 hour training session with the guys. They had on their gas mask, did some conditioning because that is one of their events. Is I think last year out of like 5 or 6 events, they wore their gas mask for the physical portions 3 times. So got to get a lot of training in with that gas mask just to get them adapted to breathing through a fucking mask that is meant to not get them killed in the event of gas, mustard gas and shit like that being out in the air. So, not easy to breathe through. So had that, went in, got my session done, and now it is 10:00 and we are headed to Walmart, then headed home for the remainder of the day. Finished my lift, got on the treadmill today. Usually step on the stair stepper just because it spikes my heart rate so much, but I had few things I wanted to do social media wise on my phone, and it is just a lot easier to get stuff done on the treadmill, simply just because like I'm not fucking dying and dripping all over the place. While I was doing that, I was listening to Austin Yoakum's newest podcast. He is someone who, again, I listen to a lot, get a lot of ideas and thought processes from. And one of the things he talked about was he was talking to a basketball coach. The basketball coach, basketball strength and conditioning coach, mentioned the fact that with the actual real team coach itself, if you fail repetitively, if you continually fail in front of your sport coach, you get benched. So you learn, hey, I should not take these risks. I should not try this. I should not try this. I can't fail. If I fail, I get benched. If I fail, I don't get a play. So you do that with your sport coach, but then with the strength coach, that is where you can have a lot more of an environment where, hey, strength coach, we have nothing to do at all with who plays or not. Like, some coaches like to think that they have a lot of say in that, but at the end of the day, like, the strength coach has nothing to do with actually who plays. So, in that strength conditioning environment, in that weightlifting environment, outside of the sport, you can do a lot more failure. You can open up the athlete to experience actually failing and helping them get through the emotional distress that is associated with failing. Because again, on the court, on their field, whatever it is, if they fail, they're fucked. If they fail, they don't get a play, then they don't get their contract, they don't get to play college ball, they don't get to do whatever their goal is. But again, in that weight room, because there is a lot less bearing on the actual sport, you can then give the athlete all of this ability to fail. Now, the thing with that with weightlifting is the sport coach is also the strength coach. They are one and the same in the sport of weightlifting. So, if we bring in that same mindset that team sports have, where risking things, trying something out, just failing in general, if we take in that mindset that failing is bad and failing is going to just cause me to be benched, I'm not going to be a good athlete, I'm not going to be able to perform well, I need to avoid failing at all costs. If we bring that mindset into weightlifting, that you are going to fail at that point. You need to be okay taking risks. You need to be okay with failure, because in the sport of weightlifting, you're gonna fail a lot, and you are going to fail often. You are not going to, like, again, looking at that team sport environment, let's say NBA, they are playing 82 games a year just in their regular season. We look at baseball, they're playing, 162 a year just in regular season? So you make it all the way through, baseball-wise, you're both games, like, at least 100 games. NFL-wise, you get a little bit less, you get just shy of 20 games, but regardless, in the team sport environment, if you fail one game, all right, cool, like, not that big of a deal. It's that consecutive failure over and over where it becomes much more of a deal. But you have many opportunities throughout the year to then make a revision, change things up, do better next time. In weightlifting, you're not competing more than 4 times a year at the very max. Most people maybe 2 to 3 times a year. So you have a lot less of an opportunity to really make up not feeling like a failure if you do poorly at an event. You could say qualify for an event, go 3 for 6, then go to Arnold's coming up next, so go to the Arnold. You bomb out there, or you go, let's say, 2 for 6, only make one of your lifts. Like, because PRing at every single meet you do isn't in the cards, and the fact that, again, there is no one else you can rely on, it is just you in this individual sport. If you approach failure in the same way as a team sport, you will not last in the sport of weightlifting. You need to become okay with failing. You need to become okay with the fact that I will not PR at every meet. There will be some meets where I have to be okay, like, hey, the goal of this meet may be not even to attempt a PR. The goal of this meet, I may have to open lower than before. Let's say you're just trying to qualify, open lower, not hitting PRs. Let's say it's a train through meet. You're not peak, so you're not in your best shape, so you may attempt a PR and miss. If you're just trying to go for a medal, you may go take bigger jumps than what you feel comfortable doing. You may go 3 for 6 there. You may not get a medal. There's so many different instances here, looking at what the strategy of the meet is, where failure can be seen even if you hit good numbers. Like, there's so many different instances where you can have a good meet and it can still feel disappointing. So with that, if we bring in that same mindset from team sports, that if I fail too often, if I have all of these consecutive times of failure, I'm going to fall apart. If we bring that in here, because of how stretched out the sport is, like, just like NFL, they get the same amount of games in one season that an Olympic weightlifter would get over 5 to 7 years. So that amount of failure, like, you take that one meet into the next, you take that one game into the next. However, that one game, you forget about the last game 7 days later. You remember that last meet for the next 3 to 6 months until your next meet. That failure sticks with you for so long. And if you are coming from an environment, you're coming in with that mindset where failure absolutely breaks you, you're not gonna fucking last. So what coaches need to do, what athletes need to set up in their own environment, is a place, an environment that the athlete feels safe in failing. And, like, it's okay for athletes to fail. It's okay for athletes to miss lifts. Like, I know there's a lot of people don't want athletes to miss any lifts. If you miss more than 1 or 2 lifts, you're done for the day. Some people have cycles where, hey, this entire cycle you're not allowed to miss. We need to be okay with missing. Like, you will miss lifts. How are you going to react to that? It can't just be, we're going to try to avoid missing at all costs. That's a great idea, but misses will happen. You can, sure, like, don't miss in training. Cool, great idea, but training doesn't fucking matter. The competition is the only thing that matters. What you do on the platform is the only thing that matters. No one cares if you can snatch 100 in the gym if you can only hit 80 on the platform. Your 100 doesn't fucking matter. So that's a great idea to have in training, but if we spend an entire cycle trying to avoid misses as much as possible, what's going to happen when the athlete misses on the platform? They're going to fall apart because they have not had any instance where they have then seen that failure, had to accept that failure, and then have to make a change, have to deal with that, and have to still move forward and attempt to make more lifts after that failure. Weightlifters need to train failing. Like, it's a mental game. Like, you need to train missing lifts. You need to train having some bad days. You need to train just being a fucking failure sometimes and learning how to overcome, learning how to adapt, learning how to actually be okay with that failure. There are plenty of times where I will give athletes percentages in their program that I may not think that they can make. But it's a matter of, hey, one, you made the lift, like, fuck, all right, you're feeling really good, like, that's a big old confidence boost, like, nice fucking job. They may make it looks pretty crap. I'm like, all right, like, not too bad, like, that's a big fucking lift, like, really good. It may also be something where I put that number in and they just fucking miss. They may have one miss and they just fucking break. They may have attempted 3, 4, 5 times, miss every one, or make that last one. And that's okay. My goal is not to just make it so athletes are always perfect all the time. I want you to feel 100% perfect all the time. I don't want you to miss lifts. I want your confidence to be 100% all the time. Well, I want, like, athlete confidence is no science here, but I would say one of the biggest predictors of performance on the platform. If the athlete is more confident going into a meet, they're probably going to have a better result. Just probably a guess right there. But also, I want to teach my athletes what failure feels like. I want them to sit in their mind space of, hey, I just missed. I just failed. What do I do now? Can I overcome that? Can I deal with that failure? I have so many athletes, and this is just weightlifting in general, so many athletes in the sport put so much fucking pressure on themselves. Because again, you compete 2 to 4 times a year. You only have 6 total lifts. If you're competing twice a year, you only have 12 lifts that actually matter. If you're competing 4 times a year, you have 24 lifts that actually matter. That is not a lot. That means that when it is time to go, it is time to fucking go. You better step up, you better shape up or ship the fuck out, because you don't have very many attempts. So you walk out to the platform, you miss that opener. If you haven't trained pushing your limits a little bit and failing and having to deal with and then set up a plan to then move forward against that failure, your athlete just bombed out. They're fucked. We need to put athletes in an environment where they feel safe failing. We need to then give athletes the tools and help athletes overcome what failure feels like. Teach them it is okay to fail. Sometimes, a lot of the time, you are going to try. You are going to fail. Now, this can come back to their fucking childhood, too. Like, there are so many people whose parents raised them that if you fail, you yourself are a failure. If you fail, that is a bad thing. That is not a bad thing at all. I want you to take risks. I want you to fucking send it sometimes. I want you to be fucking scared of some lifts. Like, I want you to go fucking balls to the wall and see what you have in you. Like, sometimes you are gonna fail. Like, sometimes it is gonna be, like, really fucked up. Like, sometimes there may even be injury. Like, I've destroyed my fucking shoulder before going for a 94% snatch for a double. I fucking went for it. I fucking failed. I'm a better coach for it. So there are lots and lots of opportunities, lots and lots of ways to add in a safe place for athletes to fail. Now, obviously, we don't want athletes to be injured. That's pretty clear. We don't want to hurt athletes. We don't want anyone to be injured at all if we can avoid it in any way possible. Fucking asshole people taking up 2 lanes. Fucking pieces of shit. Coaches need to create safe places for athletes to fail. We need to foster an environment where it is okay to fail. We then need to give athletes the tools to deal with, to handle, to strategize, and to overcome that failure and not crumble. Again, you miss your opener. If you can't deal with failure, you just bombed out. But if you have trained it, if you have gone through the mental things that you need to do to then overcome that failure, you can then come back, make your lifts. You can still PR. You can do plenty of things. So overall, create environments where it is okay to fail. Don't have that team sport idea where if I fail, I may not play. Now, we need to come in with an open mind. We need to come in accepting failure and have strategies and practice that mental space where failure is okay and we can overcome failure. So, yeah, great podcast. Austin Yoakum is the guy's name who really sparked this idea in me. Podcast with, I have no idea what the guy's name was, but highly recommend listening to it. That was just a very small, like, little 1-minute snippet on there that just blew the fuck up in my mind. So I will be sending this to all of my athletes as required reading over their weekend. I would highly recommend you watch this. I think this was probably the best one I've done, if I do say so myself.